On the agenda, hiring of third-party attorney.
I had asked this to be put on the agenda, I think, or if somebody else, yes. This had to do with any actions being taken with regard to Mr. Burns or Mr. Phillips. Because I have been sued now by both of them, I feel it would be a conflict of interest.
Yeah, I've been sued by.
Excuse me.
No, she said something. She said she had been sued by both of them.
Yes. You sued me to remember the last thing you filed was a motion to amend to add me to the lawsuit, so.
Okay.
Thank you, theoretically, that was dismissed, it has been dismissed. But if I had to take any action against either one of these two licensees, I could not do so, and it would get conflict of interest. So I just need some guidance from the board with regard as to whether you wish to retain an attorney solely for the purpose of that, if that should become an issue. And also, we had talked about if you wanted to pursue any other actions against either one of them, that would be up to the board. But I could not handle that because of the litigation.
So do we need a motion to?
Just
You would-
a question.
I
We
need
gotta have a motion.
I need a motion to see if we can hire does everybody understand? Does anybody
Well,
want to clear it up?
Nothing.
Don't discuss it yet.
No, we're not. I'm just saying, because I mean, I'm more in the same boat Greg is. I know what Ms. Dow was saying,
Right.
but it wasn't as clear as it should have been to, I guess, everybody sitting here. Maybe I'm the only one, and Mr. Bordelon may have not gotten the gist of what she was
Don't
saying.
discuss it. That's what I'm gonna.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm gonna attempt to clarify it for you. If you give me 10 seconds.
Okay.
All right, so we need to see, we have a motion, if there's any lawsuits come up between Mr. Barnes and Mr. Phillips, Anna cannot handle it, would have to get another attorney, that's what she's asking for.
No,
Or disciplinary actions.
Right, or disciplinary action.
Correct. That's what I thought was disciplinary action from the last meeting.
I make a motion.
I need a second. Do I have a
I'll second.
Discussion. Now you can discuss it, go ahead, Mr. Sims.
Well, somebody from the Attorney General's office represent us, and we gotta hire an open field attorney.
No, you'd have to get a third-party attorney. If it's a disciplinary action, the Attorney General's office is actually your hearing officer / hearing representative, so that they could not be both. They could not do both.
Right.
So we would definitely have to have a third party on hand. And I'm not suggesting either or, I'm just simply making the board aware of my situation and making it clear that should something happen, that it should be turned over to a third party.
Let me,
I'm sorry, who's first?
And
Hal?
the question was money. I mean, this would be the hiring of a third party.
That's correct.
If necessary.
And hourly rates run,
I'm presently being paid $150 an hour, which is below the Attorney General max. Theoretically, if we hired somebody, they would have to take the job at that same rate. So you would not actually be out any more money than I was doing.
okay.
You have a
no, I'll
question,
go with, I'm
Freddie?
gonna go with the substitute motion in concerning this.
I think you would have to recuse
My
yourself.
question is, wouldn't our insurance liability
No, I'm
provide us counsel?
You can't,
I know it does for me,
If the board is sued, it does provide counsel as it has.
but
for
it's not the
family.
board being sued.
If the
No.
board, no, this is if the board wants to take action.
Correct. And,
Oh.
and then 971 or any other statutes that relate to board members sitting in their capacity would have to kick in.
Any other questions?
I just have a question on the lawsuits in general, while we're talking about them. If I was sued by somebody on this board, would you represent me as this counsel, or do I have to go hire?
No, you would,
You don't have to.
you do not have to hire. The board can use me if it's a suit that does not have any damages attached to it. If it's a suit that has damages attached to it, the Attorney General's office, we pay insurance on a monthly basis for that reason.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, our discussion? Have a
Wait, I got
motion.
one more.
Go.
Are you being sued as the attorney for the board or personally?
As the attorney for the board.
Oh,
Was that,
then it seems like our insurance ought to pay it then.
It doesn't pay for me.
Okay, so I've had a,
But our insurance pays for Sandy, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
He's an employee, I'm a contract counsel.
all right.
So that was the ruling which I disagreed with, but that was another day, I'll take that up.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Well, if it's dealing with me, I have no say-so whatsoever.
You recused.
Well, apparently that's what I was told, but at the same time, if we're gonna put any issues out there, the board has to make, because it doesn't say that. It says third party, so in specifically, it wasn't naming me or anyone else in this clarification. And that's where the board should have been in error, because if it's a generalized statement, if it's dealing with in general, and then that's why I asked for clarification. Here it's too vague. You know, so
That's why I
let
was
me make the statement
clarifying.
first. Because at the end of the day, if it was gonna deal with myself and Mr. Burns in here, then hey, guess what? Then it should have been, brought before the board in a different venue, and especially naming me, prior to any discussions.
Freddie, the only reason it would be, that would have to hire a third-party attorney because for you and Mr. Barnes, because you were going to be pursuing.
But this is not what it
You wouldn't-
states, Mr. Steinkamp, this is not what it says. It says hiring a third party, which should have been specifically geared toward whatever the hiring would be. And that's the point I was making from the offset.
I'll amend my motion to say that we're hiring a third party to represent on behalf of counsel, or counsel to represent us in the lawsuits with a licensee. Do I need the name? Should I say the name?
Well, we can't.
When it's not
Anybody who
lawsuits,
files a suit against me, just put it
Anybody,
that.
Anybody,
yeah,
yeah.
there you go.
And-
Perfect.
and
Anyone
Maybe
that-
somebody else does.
Anyone that files a suit against our legal counsel.
And that's why I wanted to substitute motion in, and I could have made the substitute, and I was
I'll
told.
go ahead and amend my motion.
Correct.
He amended it, now I need a second on
You
that.
got it.
Okay,
Have a
I got
second.
one. Why can't you
Discussion.
represent yourself? You're an attorney.
I am representing myself.
Oh,
They're suing me though.
so.
Mr. Burns is suing me, Mr. Phillips
Right.
is suing me in the
No, but
past. I have a conflict of interest now if I turned around and
Oh.
represented you against them.
Okay.
And that's what the third party.
So now, the
That's why I need the
motion's
third party.
been amended, seconded, any other discussion or
Well,
questions?
that's why I said I had a substitute motion to that. Because it's still, based on the way it's written on this agenda, I'm allowed to make a substitute motion regardless of whether or not he amended that into there or not. The discussion is hiring a third-party attorney, not just with any person within this, but it should be inclusive of all parties that are involved in any type of suits.
That
And
was
that's the
his
point.
amended
No,
motion.
he just said to Mr. Phillips and Mr. Burns.
No,
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 that's right.
no,
No,
he
it's
just
in there.
amended his motion,
Oh,
Freddie.
that's what you meant, okay.
Yeah, I have it to hire counsel to handle disciplinary matters by, or, again, so I have to work exactly on the wording. Against
Anyone.
anyone who is suing our general counsel.
Or-
That's,
Or the board, correct? To include the board as well.
No, just, it's just my conflict of interest.
hit her.
Well, I know it's your conflict of interest, but if the Attorney General hires someone that we feel that is not, this is what I'm saying, because we have,
Attorney General's not gonna hire them, the board would.
the board will, but I'm just saying, we recommend our own counsel. And then if the board complies with the rate that you're getting, and we bring our own counsel in, then that should be sufficient, correct?
That's if they decide a need to hire another counsel.
Correct.
That would be
That's-
the.
but we
Because of
have-
a conflict, that's what this motion is saying.
But if it's a conflict with me and board members,
With anyone.
that's what I'm saying, that's why I said me
You
and board
amended it.
members, then I would have to choose whether or not, because of the conflicts of interest that I may have, or with the board, it would be advisable that I seek outside counsel.
Okay, so you.
You see what I'm
I'm
saying?
taking one point at a time.
Exactly.
The point at a time is this one right here.
Right,
That's a
right.
totally
That's a
separate
totally
point.
different issue.
It has nothing to do with my motion. My motion
Your-
is this
Your motion
behalf.
stands, your second stands.
But we're talking about hiring third-party attorneys. So whatever reason. we're hiring-
Third-party attorneys, and my motion is third-party attorney for Mrs. Dow's position when she is in litigation by
Exactly.
by
I
license.
No, I understand what you're
Does
saying,
everybody
but-
else
That's
understand it?
all I want to
That's
vote on.
what his motion is, it has nothing to do with third
That's what
party.
his motion
I see
is.
you, Robert, I'm an officer.
But
I can slide
here's
those
the
hands
principle,
coming
what I'm
out.
saying, and I have a right to state this, that if that was the case, then that's what should the agenda had specified.
What,
You see what I'm saying? Because the way the agenda is written right now,
Okay, let's
it doesn't
stick to it.
specify anything.
Okay, but everybody else is
And
clear
we're
on
making
this?
it specified.
Okay, Freddie, everybody's clear on the motion. Robert, before we vote, you had a question?
No, I'm asking
comment?
for a request of a reread of exactly what this motion is.
You want to
I know,
read it?
I know she read it once. I'm
I
asking.
take very simple notes. I'll have to go back on the digital recorder to get the exact thing,
We-
but basically it's gonna, to hire counsel to handle disciplinary matters from for licensees that are suing our general counsel.
That's
Is that-
the
That's
motion.
it.
Okay,
Our
that's
third-
his
That's it.
motion.
Our third-party
Hire
counsel.
third party.
If- That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
Okay, and that's your second. Okay.
call for the question.
Any other discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?